Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy will speak to members of U.S. Congress in a virtual address set for Wednesday morning. Zelenskyy has urged the U.S. and other nations to do more to support Ukraine, calling for the West to impose a no-fly zone over his country, a request that Pentagon officials have rejected out of concern it would draw the U.S. and its allies into a wider conflict. Let's bring in foreign correspondent Maggie Rulli in Ukraine and ABC's Alex Perche in Washington for more. Maggie, what do you expect to hear from President Zelenskyy in this address?
Yeah, Dan, this is going to be very interesting to see how it plays out. You mentioned that request for a no-fly zone. I expect we'll hear this from President Zelenskyy again. He brings it up almost every time he asks America and the West for help, begging for that no-fly zone to close the skies. He says this is the only way we're going to save lives. So I can assume he'll bring that up to Congress. But, Diane, President Biden has been adamant, no-fly zone. That will lead to direct contact between American troops and Russia. And he said it will lead to World War III. Now, Diane, I sat down with Ukraine's top negotiator. He's leading the negotiations with Russia right now. He also asked for a no-fly zone. But when I asked him about what Biden said, he told me we're already in World War III. Now, leaders have to decide which side of the battle they're on. Diane?
And Alex, U.S. officials are largely united on support for Ukraine, but they're wary of crossing a line that could lead to a larger conflict. What more can the U.S. and its allies do to put pressure on Russia without crossing that line?
Well, Diane, we saw them expand the list of Russian oligarchs last week that they were going to sanction. They could expand that again. Also, there was the announcement of this new $200 million in aid going to Ukraine for things like small arms, anti-tank and anti-aircraft weaponry. That is something that's also in effect. But there is a lot of concern right now, especially with Russia attacking parts of Ukraine that are near the Polish border. We know that there are stockpiles already of weaponry and other aid in various parts of Poland meant for Ukraine. That is something that Russia could eventually target, something that we've certainly heard U.S. officials be cognizant of and certainly concerned with. But I think going forward, you're going to see more of this type of support and certainly potentially more sanctions.
Maggie, attacks are getting closer to that border with Poland, too. What's the latest on the fighting there, and how concerning are these new attacks?
Yeah, well, this new intelligence that Russia could start attacking in further West Ukraine is very concerning, Diane, especially along that border. You heard Alex talk about Poland being a NATO country. Attacks are only about 10 miles away from the border of a NATO country right now. That could lead to direct conflict, America having to get involved. So we're watching that closely. But, Diane, the other major concern is where this attack took place. It's a base right along an escape route for many refugees. We've spoken to people that have gone along that route dozens of times, helping refugees escape the country right now. So yes, Russia claims they attacked it because it's on a route used to bring arms in, but it's a dual purpose. Refugees also use it to leave. So that's how close these attacks are happening. Bases kept right by evacuation routes for civilians in the country. Dan?
And Alex, Ukrainian and Russian delegations have been meeting virtually for a fourth round of talks. They're now taking a break until tomorrow. What's the latest?
Well, Diane, this is news that broke about 40 minutes ago. We got this tweet from Ukraine's chief negotiator saying a technical pause has been taken in the negotiations until tomorrow for additional work in working subgroups and clarification of individual definitions. Now, what that ultimately means, it sounds like they have to basically work out some clarity in some of these definitions. But we do know that going into these talks, both sides were considerably optimistic for this fourth round of talks today. Ukraine saying essentially that it seems that Russia is being more amenable and not having these hardline concessions they were expecting of Ukraine, including an amendment to the Constitution. Russia demanding that Ukraine say that they would not seek to join NATO, they would not seek to join the European Union, both of which were hard lines that Ukraine was not willing to acquiesce to.
And Maggie, what is it like now in Lviv? Because we keep talking about Poland and how many refugees Poland has brought in, but so many of those go through Lviv and are in Lviv. So what is the scene like there, especially as concerns start to rise that maybe the fighting may come to Lviv?
Yeah, Diane, this is scary for so many people here. Lviv's population has just boomed in the past few weeks. Hundreds of thousands of refugees fled the east to find relative safety here in the west because some of them can't leave Ukraine. And we met one family not too long ago. She had 3 kids. Her oldest son was 20. He can't leave. The country will not let men out of Ukraine right now. So that mom was telling us she doesn't want the rest of her family to leave, doesn't want to leave any children behind. You know, some people are elderly. They don't want to leave the country they were born in. These are real decisions people have to make. And so as fighting could maybe escalate in the West, we could almost see a second refugee crisis. All these people that have fled here to safety could now try to flee Ukraine again. You know those numbers, millions of people. Top U.S. officials now warning it could reach 8 to 10 million refugees. And he tells ABC News that the world doesn't have enough resources to handle that number. Some scary numbers, Diane.
They sure are. Maggie Rulli and Alex Perchet, thank you both.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.